So let's get into the structure of the C-Corp. At the bottom of the C-Corp, you have shareholders. Shareholders, their job is to buy shares, come to annual shareholder meetings, receive share certificates. That's it. Shareholders do not tell you what to do. And especially if you're giving up any shares in your company, you're going to give them non-voting shares. They do not tell you what to do. Directors. Directors are the ones who decide the overall strategic plan for the corporation. The directors are the ones who elect the president, the treasurer, the secretary. They're in charge of power, position, pay, and perks, the 4 Ps. Okay, so the director is the one that does that. Shareholders do not. Shareholders do not tell you what to do. The president, his job is just to carry out the plan that the directors hand down. That's the job of the president. Yep. A lot of people think that you make someone a president, oh, they got control of my company. No, it's just a title. They carry out the plan. They cannot do anything that the directors did not tell them to do. Okay. Treasurer, his sole job, or her sole job, is to report the financial condition of the corporation at the shareholder and directors meetings. That's it. They're not an accountant. They're not a CPA. They don't manage any budgets. They don't do the bank accounts. They don't do any of that. Their sole job is to report the financial condition of the corporation at the shareholders and director meetings. Period. They don't even have to be good with money. All they have to do is read a report. Just read the P&L. Well, we made this amount of money this year. We made this much in gross sales. We made this much in net profit. That's it. They report the financial condition of the company. Secretary. Most people think that the secretary's job is to answer phones and, send out emails. Their job, their sole job, is to read the previous minutes at shareholders and directors meetings, take the current meeting minutes at shareholders and directors meetings. That's it. They're not answering phones. They're not getting anybody coffee. The secretary just does the minutes. That's it. And this is a corporation in a nutshell. Some people think that there's a misconception that's out there where people think that these positions are supposed to be different people. All 5 of these positions can be the same person. The same person can be a shareholder, director, president, treasurer, secretary. The requirement that you do have with the C-Corp is you need to have a minimum of 1 shareholders meeting per year. In the early days, you're going to have multiple directors meetings, but once you sign, a building lease, once you apply for a loan, once you apply for a Visa account, American Express card, once you open up bank accounts, that's when you can have different shareholder minutes. And what the minutes are is literally just you typing up and saying, hey, we decided to open an account. We decided to do this, right? It's really just that simple. And the other thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to obtain a corporate binder. I'm going to show you what that looks like. I like to use this company. I have no affiliation with this company. You don't have to use them. You can go to Amazon and buy one. All right. I just like to use these guys because I like the system that they have. So this is a corporate binder. This is what it looks like, right? And you can see right there, like you can put the name of your corporation on it. This is what the shareholder certificates look like. I like using these guys because it comes with pre-printed minutes and bylaws and agreements where all you have to do is just type it in. Like it's just like super simple. And they also come with the stamp. When you open your corporation, your initial minutes are just going to be I elect Sydney Webster as president, secretary, treasurer, and director. That's it. And you writing that in the minutes, you have satisfied your legal requirement for minutes. Why do minutes matter? Because if you're sued or when you're sued, judges sometimes subpoena your corporate binder. So they will request it. They request to see it, to see if you have been keeping up with your minutes. If you haven't been keeping up your minutes, then that's something that they call piercing the corporate veil. And so they're saying that, hey, this guy isn't running his business legitimately because he doesn't even keep up with his minutes. So the easiest thing for you to do is just do one shareholders meeting a year. Just write it in there. I'd like to have, my shareholders meeting. I think the last shareholder meeting I had, my wife, she's made my wife the president of my corporation. We did our shareholders meeting at a casino. Some people, they'll, it's a nice resort, beautiful resort, swimming pools, all the food, all the dining and stuff was a write-off because it was our corporate shareholders meeting, right? Yeah. Some people, they like to have their corporate shareholders meeting in Hawaii. Some people like to have it in Miami, right? It's 100% tax write-off. All right. So I like this site. You can put in, the name of your corporation. You could put in, the state. In your case, it would be the state of Missouri, right? You put in here the name of your corporation, how many shares you want to issue. I always suggest when starting out your company, and we're going to get into this a little more in depth when we get into Secretary of State. You want to authorize what I do. Starting out, I'll authorize 100 shares, and I'll make those shares worth $1 a piece. So the company is valued at $100. Or sometimes I'll say 100 shares, and each share is worth a penny a piece. You can always change the value of your shares later on. Okay, just because you make it worth $1 a piece now, in the future, you can make it worth $1,000 a piece. You can make it worth $50,000 a piece. It doesn't matter. These numbers, nobody sees these numbers. These numbers are important to you. But for simplicity, I normally issue 100 shares. Some people issue 1,000 shares. Some people issue 10,000 shares, 100,000 shares, 1,000,000 shares. You can be as creative as you want. For personal reasons, I just keep it simple. I do it at 100 shares. Another quick story. There was a diesel shop that I acquired. I acquired this diesel shop, and the guy was selling it for about $150. He had the business listed $150,000 on, I think it was on Craigslist. And we structured a deal where I was only going to give him like 40, 50 grand down. I think it was 40 grand down. It was maybe $40,000 down. And he was going to carry the remaining balance over the course of 36 months, over the course of 3 years. And so we structured this deal. The company, he's asking about $150. I gave him 40 grand down. And I went to the seller of another company that I bought, because I bought another diesel shop. And that seller told me that I told him about this deal. And he was like, man, I want to invest. Like they were calling me like little Elon Musk, like like Elon Musk. Like they're like, man, you're just buying up all these companies. I want to get in on the deal with you. So he's like, I want to invest. And he said, my buddy owns a trucking company and he's been wanting to buy a diesel shop as well for a while. He wants to invest. And so he's like, I'll invest 50 grand. My buddy will invest 50 grand. We want a 20% stake in your company. Well, at the time, my company was worth 100. I had 100 shares and the value was about $1 a share. So if he's giving me 50 grand and his buddy's giving me 50 grand, right? That's $100,000. That's more than what my company is worth, right? So what I did was I held my minutes and I said, we're going to split the stock. And so I changed the value because I looked at the financials of that business, and the business was actually worth 200 grand. That's how much it was worth. It was worth 200 grand. Even though I was buying it for 150, I was getting a really good deal on it, but it was worth 200 grand. So I changed the valuation of the company from 150 to 200 grand. And I told them, look, I'll give you 20%. And I changed the value of the shares from $1 to $2,000 a share, right? So now the shares are worth 2,000 a piece. You know, you're giving me 40, 50 grand. He's giving me 40, 50 grand. You guys only have 20% of the company each. I'm keeping you guys at a 40% value, and then I have 60. So 60, 40 my way. You can always split the stock at a later time. So just because you decide initially when you open your corporation that you're going to have, you know, a value of $1 or a value of a penny a share or $1 of whatever number that you have, you can always change it later. And so I like this site because they print all that stuff in the book and they just make it like super, super easy, right?